you got to turn your mic on.
It's now time. WLX presents On the Contrary with Brendan Taylor and Chris Jackson.
Well, I'm Brandon Taylor, and I'm the chairman of the Lawrence County Republican Party.
And I'm Chris Jackson, former elected official here in Lawrence County and current chairman of the Democratic Party in Lawrence County.
And so, the purpose of this is to bring a conversation to the table. Here in the county, we know, Chris, that there are people who are Democrats and there are Republicans. I've had people come to me lately here in the last few weeks and ask me what the difference is between a Republican and a Democrat, and I've sent them platforms for both parties.
Right.
And so this particular show came out of those questions of what's the difference between a Democrat and a Republican.
Right. And I think this is a good opportunity to show people, not only in Lawrence County, but in our region, that while we may have our differences, at the end of the day, we're all Americans and we need to treat each other with dignity, even when we disagree. There's a way to disagree without being disagreeable, and we can do that. So I'm glad that you're willing to do this, and I'm glad that WLX is willing to put it on. So
I am.
looking forward to it.
WDXE, WLX has been absolutely very supportive of free speech, and I appreciate this radio station being here in this county.
Absolutely. I think it's going to be fun.
I think it will too. We're going to talk about state. We're going to talk about local issues. We're going to talk a lot about national issues.
Yeah.
There's
an election coming up.
I've heard about an election coming up. I've been working at Fair Booth. Have you been to Fair Booth?
I haven't been there yet.
Okay.
My wife and son went, I guess, Friday night. I have yet to be. I try to avoid the fair. It's not my biggest thing.
Okay. Well,
I'll
I've
be
been
there
there.
sometime.
I've been there. And we've got a lot of comments about this show. I think a lot of people were kind of wondering what this is going to be. We want it to be a civil discussion, but I don't want you to hold back.
Yeah.
And I don't think you want me to hold back either
Right.
on what we really feel about the issues, about the candidates.
Yeah.
There are things in this country where we have to move it forward. There's going to be issues we're going to be talking about with the state. And I look forward to talking about local issues as well.
Sure. Hey, the local issues are a lot of times more important than the state and federal issues, because those are the ones that you see every day and you touch every day. So, I think at the end of the day, this show provides everybody with a platform. We get to give our points of view and our platform, and then we'll hear from people out around the county.
Sure. Well, let's start it off tonight. Let's talk about the presidential election, 2024.
Yeah.
You've got your candidate.
Yeah.
We've got our candidate. And I've got a question, and I know you're bringing the point of view from a Democrat.
Yeah.
We don't want this show to be personal. This is not personal. I feel like you represent a large portion of the Democrat Party and their views.
Yeah.
I feel like I represent a large portion of the Republican Party and their views, and conservative views especially. I've been called a radical. You've been called a radical. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people having their opinion about me.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with that. That's America.
Yeah.
But this election to me, is probably one of the most important elections in the last maybe 50 years in this country.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
I agree, 100%. The Democratic Party has been going through some things, and we got a lot of work to do, especially here in Tennessee and Lawrence County. If you think back, I was chairman of the local party 15 years ago,
Okay.
and we controlled every seat in the courthouse.
Mhm.
All the elected officials were Democrats. We had a Democratic governor who won all 95 counties, and now look at the state the party is in Tennessee and Lawrence County. And a lot of that is due to the Democratic Party going too far left.
Mm.
I
agree.
There's not a lot of issues where I'm as far left as, say, a Pelosi or AOC. They are their own. I'm more of a moderate Democrat. Some of my heroes are Robert Kennedy and Harry Truman, your old school Democrats. So, I do have some disagreements there. But at the end of the day, I'm going to vote for the Democratic nominee. I'm sure, like you have issues with Kamala Harris. I have a lot of issues with Donald Trump. And I think the character of this nation, to me, is most important right now.
Well, what's the number one issue, I think, what's the number one issue do you believe is on the ballot for Democrats, as far as they're not going to vote for Trump, but
Right.
What's the number one issue that's bringing them to the polls?
Well, Brandon, I think if you look back, the presidency of Donald Trump, there was a lot of chaos. He's a chaos agent, and that's just who he is. For good, for better, for worse, that's what he brings. And I think the bridge too far for a lot of Democrats and a lot of Americans, frankly, was on January 6th what happened. You have a lot of Republicans now that are saying, we like Trump's policies, but what happened that day and the saying that the election was rigged, things of that nature, that went too far. And I think, it's cliche to say democracy is on the line, but when you can't accept a free and fair outcome in an election, I think that's a big problem. And if we have a president that is unwilling to basically endorse the peaceful transfer of power like Trump did for the most part, it has to be the biggest issue. And I think to a lot of Democrats it is.
Well, you said a lot right there.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm going to unpack a little bit of it on my end. I even brought an ink pen in case I get an idea while you're talking. I don't want to interrupt you. I want to give you a chance
sure.
to speak it. Um, but one of the things you had said was a free and fair election, a democratic process. And I hear a lot of Democrats, they really want to tout that we are a democracy
Sure.
when actually we are a republic.
Yeah.
And I get it. I understand how that works. But there's a little twist to that. And so it's amazing to me how the Democrat Party, who touts the fact that they want free and fair elections, but yet did you vote for Kamala in the primary?
I voted for the Biden Harris ticket.
Well, in this primary, though, she wasn't on the ticket.
Right. Yeah. Up front, I'll say that I did not like how that went down. I think everybody in the county knows me that I do have an association and a relationship with the Biden people. So I'm a big fan of Joe Biden personally and professionally. I didn't like the way the party did him.
Okay.
I think they thought his age was going to be a big determiner of this election, and they thought it would probably be best to have somebody else.
Mhm.
But I agree with you. It's hard to say that democracy is on the line, and when you have a candidate that didn't run in the primary, there's no way around that.
I don't know how people could say democracy's on the line and yet
Yeah,
their candidate was
I didn't like.
it's not on the prime was not elected
I didn't
through a
like.
democratic process.
I think we had a standard bearer. He ran for re-election. He got 14 million primary votes. He should have been the nominee. But
Do you wish Joe Biden was on the ticket right now?
I wish he would have been the standard bearer. Yeah.
Because I will tell you, I feel like Joe Biden is bringing chaos. I feel like him being in the office right now
Hmm.
is chaotic.
Yeah.
He, the people, I don't care how they feel about him. His age
Yeah.
is a factor right now. Is he capable of running a country? Well, I would say the Democrat Party pulled his name off the ticket because they didn't think so. But yet he's still in office.
Well, Donald Trump's only 3 years younger.
I understand that.
If you're saying Joe Biden's age is a problem, you've got to, in the same breath, recognize
agree.
Donald Trump. And this is a guy that is talking about that windmills cause cancer and that people are eating cats and dogs. So, when we want to talk about mental health and the age of our candidates, I think it's fair for both sides to look at that.
And Donald Trump has said things like people eating cats and dogs. He still knows the direction off the stage.
Well,
He doesn't have to have staff to lead him around. I mean, it's to me, I get it. They're the same age, but there are health issues involved,
yeah,
and there's your mental faculties that you start to lose as you get older
sure.
sometimes. And so I'm talking about on that. I'm not comparing it to birthdays or things.
Yeah,
These guys are old.
yeah,
I'm not going to sugarcoat that.
yeah.
When I'm 78 years old, I hope I'm not running for any
Me
political
too.
office. I don't want to be doing that.
Me too.
But when we come down to an election, we get two choices.
Yeah.
Uh, I will tell you, I don't think it was a surprise to a lot of people in the Republican Party that Joe Biden was not on the ticket.
I heard it coming for months. From you guys. You guys kept saying he won't be the nominee. Y'all are going to pull him. And I thought, there's no plan to do that.
Did you think he was going to be the nominee?
Sure. Until the debate, it happened, and thought in the aftermath of that, he would still be the nominee. But the days kept coming on, and you kept having members of his own party come out. And it was kind of just like a slow drip each day. And, I think at the end of the day, he decided that he was going to put the country first. He was going to drop out, endorse Kamala. He didn't want to be the issue. He thought Donald Trump should be the main issue in this election. And that was the decision he made. And here we are, 43 days away from the election.
So you feel like January 6th is the biggest issue for Democrats?
For Democrats, I think we can have Democrats and Republicans. If we were having a fair election, just a regular election, we could have a substantive talk about the economy or, taxes or the environment, anything.
Right.
But given what Trump did with not accepting the outcome of the election, it's hard to get past that. If you have a man that's not willing to even concede the election, if you can get past first base there, I don't see how you move past that. It has to be at least one of the most important issues in the race.
Well, so for
And
Republican
take it from
voters,
me, take it from people like Mitt Romney and Cheney, who were standard bearers for y'all's party for years. Even they're not supporting Donald Trump.
well, yeah, I thought it was. I feel like it's personality the reason why Democrats won't vote for Trump, and if that goes back to January 6th,
Yeah.
then okay. I think for Republicans, I think that they're probably more policy focused on this. And I mean, we can do an entire show on January 6th if
Sure.
you want to. I don't
Yeah.
care. I mean, I'm more than willing to lay that out and bring it from my point of view. So I don't want people thinking that are watching this show that I'm skirting around some kind of topic. I don't mind doing it, but I really want to set aside time to actually get in the weeds. But as far as talking about this national election, we have two glaring issues that I feel like is facing Republicans, and I feel like the number one issue is the border.
Yeah.
Our border is a disaster.
Yeah.
There the drugs are flowing through this. I personally work in the drug rehabilitation industry, and it is an industry.
Sure.
And we have fentanyl, we have methamphetamines are flowing across the border, and almost 100% is made in Mexico flowing across our border.
Right.
Kamala Harris was named border czar,
Not
and
officially. She was put in charge of migration, usually from South
is that
America.
do migrants come across the border?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, I was just wondering if that's what that is, but so they're coming across the border. My son has National Guard, volunteered, went to the border, spent 2 months down there, seen it firsthand.
Appreciate his service.
Thank you. And I mean, he stood there on the border, and I've heard stories firsthand from these National Guard, Tennessee National Guard, earlier this year, where illegal migrants, and I'm calling it illegal because you're crossing the country illegally, holding illegal passports, fabricated passports, trying to cross our border. It's a terrible situation.
Yeah.
The scene down there is terrible. It's not good on either side. I don't like it on either side. It's destroying our country. And I feel like that's a major issue. I guess that's why on the list of priorities, where would border fall for most Democrats? Where does that fall? If it's January 6th is number one, I mean,
When I think of the border, I think of Homeland Security. I kind of bundle all those issues together. And, will you concede that since President Biden signed the executive order about 2 months ago that the immigration has plummeted?
yes, I will tell you that any executive order taken on the border will work. That's why I'm going to vote for Trump.
Right.
I believe that the president has that power, and I believe Biden's policies have been open border. Wish he would have done it 4 years ago. Wish he would have done more. Okay, I mean, I feel like that was
Do you recognize that there was a bipartisan bill in the Senate that was written by a very conservative Republican from Oklahoma, Senator Langford, that would have done what the executive order did and more, gave more resources to the Border Patrol? Donald Trump came in and basically blackmailed the Republican members of Congress to say, do not support this because it takes the issue off the table in the election.
he was looking for down the road. How is this issue going to be played out?
But would you have voted for it if you were a senator, a bipartisan bill?
I would like to say I would. Not there, I don't know.
I appreciate that.
I'd like to say I would have voted for anything that's going to shut the border down.
Yep.
Have I read the entire bill? No, I have not. Have I had the meetings behind closed doors to see what? There's a chain of events that comes with
Yep.
a piece of legislation. I have not. But I'm passionate about the border. I love the fact that people come here legally. I've worked in the industry that brought people here. I'm federal government for 25 years. Well, a lot of immigrants.
Yeah.
I love the fact people come from all over. I like to travel, and if you can't travel, the best thing you do is talk to someone from
Right.
somewhere else. I
Sure.
love that. But it's destroying our country, and the open border policy is having immigrants flood in from other countries. And I do think he's right. I don't think he's far fetched in saying that they're going in and they're literally some of the immigrants are eating the geese out of parks. I mean, they're killing geese, and
I think all this has been fact checked.
well, I'm telling you, this is what people are saying that are there that live in the communities. And so, whether that's true or not,
Yeah.
I can tell you there is a flow of illegal immigrants
No,
coming into
there's
this
no doubt.
country.
No doubt.
And I would tell you even further than that, on fair and free elections in this election process, do you believe there will be a lot of illegal immigrants voting in this
No,
presidential election?
no,
You don't think so?
no. I've served on the election commission locally, and I can tell you that most of the election around this state and this country are pretty similar.
Mhm.
There are checks and balances on just about every step you do, and each election board is comprised of Republicans and Democrats. If somebody's going to commit fraud in a huge and overwhelming manner, you have to have Republicans in on it too. It doesn't
I'm
happen.
not talking about fraud. I'm talking about, do you think that
Illegals.
there are be people that will
No.
well, what's to stop them if they don't have, if they're not registered voters, if they're not citizens, what stops them at that point in states that have a large amount of mail-in ballots? What stops them at that point? If you're going to have fair and balanced elections, you have to have checks and balances for the election
Well,
process.
if they're not a registered voter, the vote will not count. And you've got, if you have a mail-in ballot, you have to request that. You have to send in a physical request, and that has to be mailed back to you. So the person in the
Not every state.
they're pretty similar. I mean, you do have some that are you can pick them up and
I
them off.
worked for the Postal Service
Yeah.
25 years, and I've seen them come through the Postal Service.
Yeah.
Election mail is a big deal. Election mail is a big deal with Postal Service this year. And it bothered me to see the election. Now, I believe that our men and women in uniform serving, I don't even care if they're not even in their home state. If they're just here in the country, they're doing basic training or other
They
training.
should have that.
I think that's a good thing. I think that
Absolutely.
definitely a need for that, just to give people an opportunity to go vote. Well, when Democrats talk about fair and balanced elections, but yet they're opposed to having photo ID when they go and vote. Now
I'm a Democrat.
that confuses
I
me.
have no problem with photo ID. You got to have a photo ID to buy a pseudoephedrine at the pharmacy. Just about anything that you do nowadays, I have no problem with that. And I think that's a misnomer. I don't think most Democrats feel that way. I think some, especially that represent urban areas, there are some holdups to people in urban areas getting photo ID. But I don't think it's a
What could that hold up be? Because I can't figure out what the.
I hear that.
Why are people saying that?
The DMV is, 60 miles away from you and you're an elderly person, things of that nature. It's just an inhibitor to do that. Now,
Do you think having a photo ID
no,
is a
no,
method used by the Republican Party to hinder voting?
no.
It's one of the things that the party pushes.
I told you that I'm not going to agree with everything on my party. And that's one of them.
I won't either. I won't agree with
Yeah.
everything. You know why I'm a Republican? I'm a Republican because we have a two-party system in this country, and the Republican Party is the only party that will accept me.
Well, there you go.
The Democrat Party would not accept my ideas. We don't line up.
Yeah.
If I were to go there and tell my ideas, they would probably usher me to the door very quickly.
And I agree with you, Brandon. We have to have strong parties in this country. We need a strong Democratic and Republican Party because that's how government has to work.
Well, I'm going to take it one step further. I think I think we do have two strong parties, obviously, but I think that's probably one of our problems.
There are
Went to a
downfalls.
two-party system. We've been warned by this by leaders of this country
George Washington.
for years.
Yeah.
If it comes down to a two-party system, what has happened? We're divided.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to talk about another topic that I think is huge. And like I said, you jump in here. I mean, I want to know your
When I say we need a strong Democratic Party and we need a strong Republican Party, from my point of view, and a lot of Democrats right now, the Republican Party is not a party anymore. It is a organization that is lined up behind one individual, Donald Trump. There are no ideas really. It's all about it's basically a personality thing with Republicans now. You guys had a chance to nominate a fairly normal professional guy in Ron DeSantis, and if Ron DeSantis was your nominee right now, I think Democrats would probably be in some trouble, because he would appeal to the same people as Donald Trump, but he knows when to keep his mouth shut. He's a military service. We're sitting over here and we don't understand the appeal of Donald Trump. I was telling you before we got started, I understand that Donald Trump says things in a manner that people like. He says things that a lot of people won't say. But I don't think he has the character to lead this country. And I think the Republicans 20 years ago would say the same thing because I can remember when they said Bill Clinton didn't have the character to lead this country. And George Bush ran on restoring honor and dignity back to the White House.
Right.
So that's where I'm at with Donald Trump.
And I agree with you talking about the personality being the vote for the Democrats.
Yeah.
I think they are voting only on personality. But I think the Republicans are voting on policy. And the policy is, what's Donald Trump's policy on the border? Kamala Harris has now said she is for closing the border.
Mhm.
That's no more political than Donald Trump coming in 2 months ago and saying, "Don't vote for that bill." I mean, it's not. It's like, are you voting?
You telling me
You-
I should flip flop?
Yeah, exactly what I'm, and it happens.
Yeah.
Because they're following the political wind. But are you voting for change on the border when you vote for Kamala Harris? And if you are, why don't you go ahead and change it?
Well, she's vice president.
Are you sure?
Absolutely, absolutely. And
I think she may be president already.
we've got a commander in chief, and
Jill?
the United States is
Is it Jill Biden?
no, the United States is a lot more respected on the international stage right now than when Donald Trump was there.
I disagree.
I can talk to our allies. There's international surveys that have done this that goes by country.
Iran wants Joe Biden to get elected. Why?
Why would Russia want Donald Trump? That's an easy assertion to make, but I think Iran, if that is true, and I don't know that to be true, that they would perceive the sanctions and things like that to be softer under a back because we did pursue a peace deal with Iran.
Iran is a terrorist nation.
Sure. And Trump, once he tore up the Iran nuclear deal, we're now closer to a nuclear weapon than we were when that was in place. So what good did that do? I mean, at some point, you don't make peace with your friends, you make peace with your enemies. And they are our enemy, make no doubt about it. They're terrorists, they terrorist organization, they fund Hezbollah and all these other groups. But at the end of the day, we have to make the best of it. And I think having a nuclear deal in place like we had kept them from that bomb more than just the sanctions. All the sanctions do at the end of the day are hurt the people in the country. They starve them to death. And those people, Iran is a fairly modern country. And it's a shame that they're being left behind.
Under the Shah of Iran
Yeah.
up to the 70s. And I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole here. People go, man, I mean, all kinds of things.
I had to tell the backstory.
I mean, the Shah of Iran was very Western
Right.
in his belief, and in the late 70s, we saw this radical takeover in Iran and this ideology take over.
Yeah.
I'm gonna kind of try to keep us on track because there's a lot of things we can talk about. We will, as we go through these things, we'll pick out topics right out of the news or.
Yeah.
So I want to give you a chance to answer the question because I did ask you and I didn't give you a chance to answer. But where does the border fall on list of priorities to a Democrat?
I would say, like I said, I think the preservation of democracy is first and foremost for most Democrats. I think the economy, I think, I would say, like I said, I grouped that with Homeland Security, and I think protecting our homeland from a terrorist attack or any kind of other infiltration ranks up there for anybody.
Sure.
Or at least it should. And, as far as I can tell, under President Biden, there haven't been any major terrorist attacks. And even Trump, I thought, did a fairly good job. I don't remember any major attacks since then. Our country has done a pretty good job since 9/11 at protecting the homeland.
Well, we receive a lot of threats.
Yes.
I will tell you.
Oh, absolutely.
And the government, just your Tennessee state government, receives about 300,000
It's crazy.
attacks on our system, on our computer system. State of Tennessee, about 300,000 every month. That's how there's just trying to get your information, my information, to crack into all the electric grid. That's constant. They want to attack this country. They hate this country. I'll tell you one of the next things on policy that I think is a big deal, and I think it's abortion.
Yeah.
I think abortion is a big deal, and I'm trying to give you room to tell me where these things fall.
Yeah.
Because, if somebody says they're not going to vote for Donald Trump because they don't like his personality, okay, they have their right to that. But for me, policy is what's going to either build this country or destroy this country.
Sure.
And I think the policy on the border, I think abortion has been a hot issue. I mean, just you and I talking about this will probably light up things.
Donald Trump disciplined enough as president to advance those issues. A lot of Republicans, especially the ones that have come out against Trump, are saying that he can't focus enough on the issues to advance those. That's why you saw the Ron DeSantis's of the world come out and run against him because they said, his ideas are good, but as president, I mean, what did he accomplish as president? He got a tax cut. He didn't build the wall all the way.
Why didn't he build it?
Well, no, he said he was going to get Mexico to pay for it.
I think Democrats stopped that.
Democrats wasn't for it. I agree. Mexico was going to pay for it.
But Democrats fought the wall the entire way. I mean, Kamala has been to the wall. Her picture taken in front of a wall. She's
I
against.
think most Democrats.
She got her picture in front of Trump's walls.
Yeah.
In fact.
I mean, a physical wall is okay. I'm not going to say it will not work. It would be a deterrent. But I think most Democrats are saying it has to be more than a physical wall. You have to have technology at the border that can detect fentanyl coming across. You have to have those extra border agents down there because they're overworked down there. They're just overwhelmed with the amount of migrants that are coming in. So there has to be more than
Well,
that.
why are Democrats opposed to a wall? Why are they opposed to a border wall?
Like I said, I don't think they are. I think they are as a standalone solution. I never heard Trump say that we're going to put technology at the border, that we're going to add more manpower at the border. That's what the bipartisan bill would have done. And, this is an issue that goes back decades. It's the issue that this country can't
Thinking
say.
down the road for decades.
I mean, I think the last big issue or the big action on immigration was under Reagan when he gave amnesty to millions of illegals. But George Bush tried to come up with, a comprehensive solution. Obama did, Trump did, and now Biden. So, it's going to take both parties conceding on some of these points that we are dug in on in order to get something done.
Well, I believe a border wall would work. And Trump ran on border wall the first time. He's still on border wall. Democrats have absolutely stopped anything at the border from taking place.
Yeah.
They just don't want it. And I even seen some Democrats, go into the border. I mean, radicals, AOC, and different ones go to the border and they're just telling things that weren't factual.
Yeah.
People drinking out of toilets. It's funny how people will say, well, Trump said somebody was eating a cat, but yet they came back from the border and said those people were drinking out of toilets.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I work in Department of Corrections a lot and different things. And the water systems that are in holding cells,
Yeah.
if you're in jail, is a water fountain built on the back of a toilet.
Yeah.
And literally, that's what she come back and said.
Yeah.
And so, but again, I'm going to step into the issue of abortion because I really think it's on the ticket this time.
Yes.
I think Kamala has said Donald Trump's going to ban abortion, but I'm going to tell you, I think it's actually flipped. I think if she can do it, she's going to work to make abortions easier. She wants to push federal policy to give abortions to women. I believe, and I think a lot of Republicans agree, that abortion is murder. It's legalized murder. And so
I respect that.
I mean, it's absolutely something that I will not back up on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to back up on the border. I'm not going to say, hey, that's an issue that I can give on, and I'm not going to back up on abortion. It goes deeper than just a political issue for me. It's personal conviction.
I understand. Hey, I understand that completely. And, anybody that knows me knows that personally, I'm about as pro-life as anybody can get. I don't hunt. I don't do anything to harm anybody or anything. Never been in a fight. The hardest thing I ever had to do in my life was make the decision to stop treatment on my dad when he had cancer. And it took everything that I had to make that decision, even though the doctors recommended it to be the right thing to do. But and I could never have an abortion personally, and that's just I value life, and I think every life is precious. But at the end of the day, in this country, I understand that there are circumstances where an abortion may be needed in the health of the mother, for rape, for incest, and a lot of people say that those are small cases, but they're millions if you add them up. And now you've got women who have been told that their pregnancy is not going to be viable, that are being forced to carry those kids. And women's health is now in jeopardy. And I think that's a problem. You know, it's not an issue that affects me, but it affects a ton of women out there. And I think in November, you're going to see it to be an important issue to those women. It could very well could decide the election. You know, from what I can tell, Kamala Harris just wants to restore what Roe was. And basically, what that was, it says it guarantees the right to an abortion up to so many days. This saying that Democrats are for killing babies after they're out of the womb and things is it's absurd. You know, I've never seen that. You're basically accusing doctors of killing kids at that stage. I don't know where that came from, but it's even a hideous thing to say. But
Do you know the difference between an abortion at, we'll just say, let's just say 10 weeks
hmm,
and killing a child that's 10 weeks after their birth? Do you know the difference?
well, one's alive.
No, they're both alive. They're both alive. You can't, the baby in the womb's got to be alive, Chris, or you couldn't kill it, or you couldn't stop its heart. It's growing. What's the definition of something that's alive? It has to have an environment that supports its life, and it has to be growing and sustaining itself. And that's what's happening in the womb. But the only difference between having an abortion and literally killing a child at 10 weeks is location and time.
Yeah.
That's it. Location and time.
But surely you don't think that a woman that was raped by her father and is pregnant, she should be forced to carry that child.
Here's what I do think. Let me be clear about what I believe, and I think a lot of people agree with me on this. Um, you do not punish the innocent and let the guilty live. Would we execute her father for doing that? Terrible, hideous crime. I'm not trying to put any kind of.
Probably should execute him.
I agree.
Yeah.
But we won't. We will execute the child which was innocent. And I will tell you this, that even on the mother's side, and I feel like it's not said enough, that child is just as much hers as it is his.
Mm.
That child is just as much a part of that mother as it is the father, even under the terrible circumstances. We have laws in this country, and we've created even right here in Lawrence County. If you have a child and it's within, I can't remember how many days, I have to look it up. I want to say within 14 days
Yeah.
after birth, you can carry that child to a
Yes.
fire station, and they will
Put it
take
in the
that child
box.
and they will take care of that child, no questions asked.
Yeah.
Um, I gotta ask the question to Democrats: what's wrong with letting the baby live? I always hear all the time it's about the mother. I'm not in defense. I'm not trying to attack the mother. I'm gonna tell you where I'm taking the defense. I'm gonna take the defense of the child. And how could someone be in the wrong to do that? And people can say it's not a life. How do you know if something's living? How do you check to see if a human's living? What's the first thing you do? That's right. When does a baby have a heartbeat?
Yeah.
Do you know?
I don't know.
With if a mother, and I know this because I have 6 kids, and when that mother recognizes she's pregnant,
Yeah.
and gets an appointment, my wife, we've been to the doctor so many times on this, and I say this because as a father, I've stood there and actually looked at the ultrasound machine, and they're like, "Here's your baby," and the heart is beating within 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And so maybe even more than that. Somebody may correct me on this, and I get it, but I know we've been to the doctor. I've sat there and watched my children's heartbeat at 5 weeks. You can't even hear it because it's so small, but
Right.
you can see it.
Yeah.
The only way you can say that you're not killing someone, I don't know how you could justify that. So to me, here's my argument on this, and I think Democrats are trying to make it a time span thing. I really do. I think Democrats are trying to focus on the time span, and they're like, well, it's this many weeks versus this many weeks. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. That is a life. And we're guaranteed life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Democrats could take that position. And I think there's a lot of Democrats that are maybe like you that are pro life, but they're voting for representatives that are not pro life. Yeah. They are not. And quite honestly, you probably chastised by your own party just for taking that position.
Well, it may be, you know, and I'll say that Joe Biden is really a moderate on abortion. For years, he supported the Hyde Amendment, which forbid any federal funds going to abortion. Now, the party has kind of gone leftward since then. But that's not.
I'm not going to give you a free pass on that. There used to be a lot of pro-life Democrats.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
They're not now.
No, both parties have gone to the extremes on this, and that's the problem right now. You've got a complex issue, a moral issue, where both parties are at each extreme, when most people are in the middle. It's just like I said, I can understand an abortion if the woman's life is in danger and the pregnancy's not viable.
Mhm.
I can understand, well, this is where you and I disagree, that if the woman was raped by a father or by another person and she's impregnated, if it's within a certain time period, she should have the right to an abortion. I think those issues should be left up to her, her God, and her doctor. And I think when they overturned Roe v. Wade and sent it back to the states, you're seeing a lot of repercussions from that. And it's not a matter of being a baby killer or anything like that. It's about personal freedoms for the women and the women's health, in my opinion. Because you're seeing a lot of women that are being forced to carry these pregnancies, they're dying or just about to die. You see it every day on the news, different cases about it, where a woman's living in Alabama and she's having to travel to, New Jersey or somewhere just to get an abortion and her pregnancy's not even viable. I mean, it's kind of crazy. The Republicans used to believe in this, three set.
Well, you're
Trump does.
you're talking about a pregnancy being viable.
Yes.
Okay. So what the time constraints on an abortion is when you actually consider that baby being a human life and it has its own right.
Mhm.
I believe that conception is a human life and it has rights.
Yeah.
You cannot take Chris's rights away and give me my right.
Right.
You cannot take someone else's rights from them. So see, I'm defending the right of the child.
Yeah.
That's the point I'm coming in. I'm not trying to take any rights from the mother whatsoever. He has the right that if she does not want that child for any reason, no questions asked, to give that child up.
Mm.
No one's going to hold it against her. Maybe family or
Yeah.
friends, maybe, but it would be personal then at that point. No one on people that I know that are full of would hold that against her. Matter of fact, I got to say it's terrible, but in some cases it might be better if she would give the child to someone else to raise.
Yeah.
And so I want to be clear on that. We're not talking about an issue of when you can terminate the pregnancy. We're talking about an issue of when that human life has rights.
Yeah.
And that's what this goes back to. It goes back to a human's rights issue, in my opinion. And a heck of a
I
lot of
think
other
Trump said in the debate he was for the three exceptions as well, didn't he?
Do you know how? But yeah, but I don't think it's going to be on the presidential. I don't think he's going to come in and issue any type of executive order. But I'll tell you how I do think he was elected in 2016. He did something that was unheard of. He listed a list of 20 Supreme Court judges that he would put in there, and I believe it pushed him over the top on this issue. And I'll tell you what Trump did, I hear people say, "Well, what does Donald Trump do?" He got the judges in that overturned Roe versus Wade, and I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it's back on the state level.
Yeah.
I hope we can have this conversation on the state level. Right here in Tennessee, we had, of course, we had trigger laws that went in, trigger bans that went into effect as soon as this Roe versus Wade was overturned.
Right.
In good faith that it would be overturned one day. Honestly, I didn't know that it would ever happen in my lifetime.
I didn't think it would. But like you said, Donald Trump, the one issue that Republicans think he did more than anything, they're right, is the judges. The Supreme Court, the federal bench is stacked. And, he got an opportunity to appoint 3 in 4 years, where most presidents are lucky to get 2 in 8. So, no disagreement there.
So I'm going to take it to another policy issue. I'm not for packing the court like Joe Biden
Oh,
is.
no, Joe Biden has never wanted to pack the court. No.
You don't think so?
No. There was a big debate in 2020 in the Democratic primary. There were 20 of us, or 20 Democrats that were running at the time. Pete Buttigieg, Kamala, Joe Biden,
He's a hero.
Bernie Sanders.
Pete Buttigieg, he's a hero.
Pete Buttigieg
You got
is
his
smart.
picture up in your house?
He's smart. No, I like Pete though. He's smart. He's smart, and
I'm not sure.
he is a Rhodes Scholar, served our country in the military. He's a sharp guy. But that was a debate. What to do about the Supreme Court. Some of the Democrats that were running wanted to expand the court. Joe Biden said no. Now what I think I may be in support of, and several other Democrats, are maybe term limits, which Republicans are for on just about every other office. And you guys have kind of used the Supreme Court over the years to get your way. I can remember when Barack Obama had an appointment a month or two before an election, and you guys kind of blocked him from filling that seat. So
Blocked him.
sure did.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Democrats wouldn't have done the same, but it's a stance.
They would do the same.
Yeah.
And and now he has a position in Biden's cabinet. Okay, which I think
Obama does?
Oh no.
Who did you?
The Supreme Court Justice. I can't even think of his name.
Oh, Merrick Garland.
Yeah,
Attorney General.
right. And I mean, he's, in my opinion, he's done a terrible job there. But I'm glad he didn't get on the Supreme Court. I'm just going to be quite honest with you. So I hoorah to those who want happening.
That's Mitch McConnell.
Yeah, and I'm not a Mitch McConnell fan. Okay, I'm not. He's done some stuff all right. And if people want to go to personality when it should be policy,
Yeah.
And so I'm laying out some policies for you, just so you know where I stand. And this is a raw show. I mean,
Right.
this is unscripted as it gets.
Right.
This is a Democrat and Republican sitting down, having a discussion about where we think this is going to go. Because one way or the other, we're going to have one candidate or the other, and they're going to be in office.
Well, what do you think the state of the race is right now? 23 days out. What's your take?
I think it's. Let me go ahead and I'll give a comment on this, because I believe they could put a stick or a cat or a dog and run against Donald Trump, and I think Democrats would vote for that, whatever it is up there. I'm just going to be honest. I do not think she's qualified to be president at all.
Oh,
She
come
shouldn't
on.
be up. No, she's
Come on.
she's terrible.
She was the
She's a
district
nightmare.
attorney. She was the attorney general of the largest state in the nation.
And
A U.S. senator.
She
Mike says
terrible.
you guys are running a guy that
She
was
can't speak publicly.
that hosted this
Microphone. Microphones give her nightmares.
Donald Trump. His claim to fame was hosting the Celebrity Apprentice and filing bankruptcy 6 times. And you think he's more qualified than she is?
He tells you where he's at on his policies.
Well,
See,
how's that a
you're
qualification?
going after personality type.
Well, I'm going after qualifications.
Qualifications on what? I mean, like what are you talking about?
She wasn't qualified to be president.
No, she's not. She shouldn't even be.
He was
She's
a
not democratically elected to be on the ballot first and foremost.
Well, we're not going to disagree about that.
So that disqualifies you first and foremost on a democracy.
You may not like her, but she's qualified. A United States Senator, Attorney General, Vice President versus a guy that hosted a game show.
Oh, he's done way more than host a game show. Come on.
Yeah, he's been indicted a lot.
So you think Kamala has more accomplishments than Donald Trump?
I don't know about accomplishments. I mean,
That's what you're
in a lead role. You know, he's been president. She's been vice president. When you're vice president, you really are not in the spotlight. You're a senator. You're one of 100. So,
trust me, she's avoiding the spotlight.
But I know when she
has only done 2 interviews, she went on Oprah.
Do you want to go on Fox News and answer the questions that Trump gets thrown out?
Well, okay. Well, let's go to this one then. What about the debate?
No.
What about the CNN debate? What were your thoughts on it?
The one between Harris and I thought she won easy. I think most of the polls afterwards said she won.
That was the most slanted debate I have ever seen a moderator do. And I've moderated
fact checked.
On whose side?
Trump was fact checked.
Yeah. And plus, they moved along on topics as abortion. Let's say, I'm sorry, Mr. Trump. We've got a lot of stuff we've got to get to.
Do you think he was fact checked more than her because he may have been telling more lies than her?
No, I think he was fact checked because they hate him. I believe the media hates Trump as much as the average Democrat person does. I mean, I don't think
I'm not a fan of the media. You know, I think they had a lot of do with running Biden out of the race. But I think they're against Trump. You know, controversy is what drives the media. You know, clicks and controversy means dollar signs for them. And I'm not a big fan of that whole get up, but I think it was, I mean, she stated her facts and he stated his, or at least what he thought was his, you know, talking about dogs and cats being eaten and, you know, Hannibal Lecter, things like that. I mean, if that floats your boat, I guess he's your guy.
When they got to topics as abortion, and go back and watch it. When they got to the topics of abortion, they would move on instead of letting her have a chance to answer questions. The media has absolutely carried her campaign forward. They give her free pass after free pass. She doesn't do interviews.
Yeah.
You know, as someone that's as qualified as you think she is, looks like she would come out and tout her record on the border, tout her record Tell us what she's going to do. She keeps saying she's going to fix the border.
Well, I saw where she agreed for a second debate and Trump turned it down.
Well, I got to say, I don't know if I would go into a debate with CNN and being a moderator. And I've moderated debates. So on this personally, being a moderator, this is what gets me about the media. Being a moderator, I've had people debate, and I've been the moderator sitting there front, holding the microphone, asking the questions.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've always wanted is anyone that's in that debate to walk away saying, hey, you know what? I got a fair shake.
Yeah.
I got a fair shake. And I do not think that he got the same treatment. They had a disdain look on their face when they looked at him, even. And I get it. They hate him.
Yeah.
Okay. We know they hate him. But I think a lot of Republicans are absolutely fed up with the way the media treats the Republican Party. I think that
I don't think it's the Republican Party. I just think that you guys think everything is rigged against him. I mean, he said when he didn't win an Emmy Award for hosting The Apprentice that it was rigged. That the loss to Ted Cruz in Iowa in 16 was rigged. Then the 2020 election was rigged. Now the debates are rigged. Maybe it's just it seems to be a pattern with Trump, and said,
so. You know that there was a fair debate. You really don't think that was slanted one way. I just want your honest opinion. I clearly think that the debate was slanted.
independent fact checkers, and I know you guys that say they're not really independent, but they said he lied 33 times. She lied maybe 3 or 4. What's the difference between saying
Give me laugh.
something that is obviously not true, like he says, and something that she may say that is her opinion slanted? I mean, it just makes things up. It just makes things up, just like the cats and dogs thing. I mean,
That's literally on YouTube, though. Have you seen the videos of the people that are saying? Have you seen the people
people are saying,
Have you seen the videos where people are in front of city councils talking about what's going on?
why
in
is,
the
why is the
neighborhoods?
police chief, the mayor, and the city manager said it's not true?
Well, I'll tell you why. Who would be a police chief and who would be a city manager won't say that's what's going on in you're done politically. You're going to come out and admit to that? Would they come out and admit to that? No, they would not. They would be
They're doing it. They're saying the people are doing it. So I don't see why they wouldn't admit it if it was true.
Do you believe immigrants are taking over neighborhoods? I guess I'm trying to get it back to what do you believe on this issue?
I believe we
I feel like you speak for a lot of
I
different.
believe we have a problem. I believe that it's been helped by the executive order. I believe it would be helped even more by passing a comprehensive immigration package like George Bush put forward or like President Biden put forward. But I think Republicans have a lot of fun with it during election time. You always hear about the caravans coming. And what I don't like,
There were caravans of people coming.
they never showed up.
We've had so many people crossing the border that our Tennessee National Guard was sent to the border. And literally, my son has stood there and watched illegal immigrants dig under fences, they put out sea wire to stop it. And they would dig under it. This is something that is not making up something, not trying to have fun with it. Matter of fact, it's a very serious issue to me because I feel like it's a threat to our country. And
We've got to know who's coming into the country. Period. We can do a better job. I'm not disagreeing with that. I just don't like the vitriol that Trump has brought to the issue of immigration. It seems like he's brought it to an issue of us versus them. I think he's demonized a lot of these migrants that are coming simply who want a better life for them and their families. And we have a lot of anger in this country now. And when you see uh, schools in Texas that have a lot of uh, Spanish students there being shot up like they had down there, and you see these people that are blaming migrants for taking their jobs when in fact they didn't. It's a problem. I mean, and
well, where do migrants work when they come here?
I think a lot of times they take jobs that Americans won't do.
Like what?
You know just as well as I do.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what I hear that a lot. I hear that so much. These are jobs Americans won't do. We've done them all the way we've done them up to this point.
Migrants and immigrants are some of the hardest working.
I agree.
And I've never, and
they're taken advantage of when they cross the border because they're not legal.
True.
It's actually the coyotes carrying these people across. If you want to talk about true rape on women, the most rapes on women in this country are those who are coming across the border being carried across by coyotes I mean, this is the facts, Chris. I mean, this is just the way it is. And I hear that it's a big issue. Rape's a big issue when it comes to abortion. But yet when these people are trafficked, human trafficking in this country, and then they don't want to talk about the
Let's
same
find the
issues.
bipartisan deal then. It's done.
Look, this is why I'm sitting here.
Kamala Harris said she'll
make
sign it
something done.
if she's elected. She'll sign the bipartisan deal. Close the border.
She's the border czar now.
She's vice president, and the executive order is immigration right now at the border is at its lowest since 2020 when Trump was president. So the executive order is working.
You sneak that in.
We can't run the country by executive order.
What would immigration have been right now if Trump been elected and they built the border wall? In my opinion, I'm going to tell you a heck of a lot of other people's opinion. Immigration would look totally different right now if we'd had a border wall controlling that border. We would not have coyotes trafficking people across. And on the border issue, I hear about Democrats constantly talking about guns and gun laws, and we'll do a whole show on Second Amendment if you want to. But I hear this, and guns are crossing our border at an alarming rate. Even I'm going to throw a little shot at you here. Even your hero Obama, he's sending guns across the border.
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious. We know what it is, and it's facts that these were going into the hands of drug dealers and the cartel that are there, and then they're trafficking these guns back across. Listen, I don't want guns falling into the bad guys' hands. I don't want bad guys having guns. That's not what my goal is. But that's exactly what's happening with an open border policy. And people in the state of Tennessee, some years ago, we would talk about meth labs blowing up. I was a volunteer firefighter for years, and I've seen meth labs. I've talked to my kids about meth labs that explode into danger. When was the last time you heard about a meth lab?
It's been a while.
Because they're all south of the border. They're bringing these drugs across the border. This is a big issue. This is a big policy issue. And Kamala Harris, Joe Biden have not fixed the border. The Democrat Party has stood in the way of a border wall, blocking it every way they can.
But we're the only party that's put forward that bipartisan deal that would have fixed it.
A bipartisan deal would be a wall across that border.
And manpower and technology. And technology.
You would need less manpower if you had a border wall.
The Border Patrol, which is firmly behind Trump, endorsed the deal.
Why is the Border Patrol behind Trump, do you think? We're down there every day.
Well, most law enforcement are. It's just the nature.
That's because we don't say defund the police.
I don't say it either. I'm thankful for the police. When I'm in trouble, I call the police. I think anybody that says defund the police is ignorant, and they should defend themselves when they're in trouble. And I don't think that. I think people that said that were in these very liberal districts, and they hurt the party. Most Democrats value the police and know that they're on our side.
I think January 6th falls. We're about out of time. It's been fun. I think January 6th does fall on the list of priorities, but I'll tell you where it falls on the list of priorities. I've seen the people from the January 6th event. I've seen them put imprisoned. I've talked to their families of those who've been. I've met some of them personally. They've been in my house.
Yeah.
And talked to the way they've been treated. And I sit and look at the riots, the no-go zones for police. I don't see arrest. I don't see anything going on in that circle, but I see the January 6th people there being absolutely railroaded with nothing being done on the other side. So I'll say January 6th does fall on the list. We're looking through a different lens to the other side.
Yeah.
But January 6th is on the list of priorities.
It's not January 6th. It's the time-honored tradition in this country of the peaceful transfer of power. And like I said, I've been in local office before. I've served 16 years, and I've lost an election. Trump and I both have something in common. We both lost. But the big difference between him and I admitted I lost. And I lost by a closer percentage than he did.
Well, I have nothing in common with Kamala.
We'll work on that. 22nd days. We'll find something.
How much time do we have left? Well, you know what? I want to say I appreciate you coming in and being honest about your opinion. And I hope that we can bring more ideas. And we'll look at the comments. We'll talk to people in the community. And I look forward to being able to lay out some of the hard issues and talk about some difficult things. It's not easy.
Absolutely.
It's not easy.
Well, like I said, I thank you and I thank WLX for giving us this platform because we're divided in this country, but we have to live with each other.
We do.
We're a family, we're neighbors, we're friends, and just because we disagree politically doesn't mean you're bad or I'm bad. We just have a difference of opinion, and the only way this thing works is if we recognize that and we come together.
Well, politics is the arena of ideas, and that's
Right.
what we're here to bring ideas together.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you to DXE WLX.
Tune in next week. I should have used the bathroom before.